ultimately. They want to break Europe up into regions. Some maps have come out. Same in America. This is a map from the Nixon era where they showed America broken up into regions. And watch this in Australia. What the idea is to sell it to people as devolving power, like to the states or the regions or groups of states, devolving power, giving power to the people. The real reason is to break up the nation state so that there's no unified response to the edifice of power above, the superstates that they want. And of course, this has now moved, this centralization of power has moved so quickly and reached such a point, we have a name for it: globalization. Globalization is what? It's exactly the agenda I've been talking about all these years, the centralization of power in every area of our lives. And we have people of the left, and good luck to them, who protest against, global injustice and the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and all the rest of it. But what they don't seem to realize, because they reject and often lambast people like me, is all these different things they're protesting about is actually the same force under different names. And it's not just, as they seem to think, greedy corporations seeking more and more power. The corporations are not the origin of globalization, they are the vehicle for it, that's all. The origin is in the hidden forces behind the corporations that so many of the left refuse to accept exist. The idea is to make every part of the world dependent on every other part of the world, so self-sufficiency and self-government and control of our own lives and communities becomes impossible. That's what globalization is about. Free trade is the freedom to exploit. It's the freedom of corporations to make their products for a few cents on the dollar, paying starvation wages, and then bring them across the world without tariff barriers and get the biggest price they can in another part of the world. It's called free trade, freedom to exploit. But you can't be against free trade. Oh, you can. Watch me. And so all these organizations are eventually controlled by the same force. And this guy is a front man for taking it to the next level. That's why I keep calling him the used car salesman, because his role is one and one alone: sell the agenda to the people. And so the idea is to put us in these jails of control, homeland security, military dictatorship. This is Adolf Hitler selling the Gestapo, the creation of the Gestapo. An evil exists that threatens every man, woman, and child of this great nation. We must take steps to ensure our domestic security and protect our homeland. That's exactly what they said after 9/11 to justify homeland security and the police state. All over the place you find now cameras and surveillance. This is a poster after the London bombings: secure beneath watchful eyes on London transport, closed-circuit television cameras, we're protecting you. This is from Nazi Germany, 1934. Same bloody thing. Yeah, walls have ears, we're listening to you, we're watching you. Oh, this is a lovely one. Sheffield bus station in Britain. It's a bus station. You go there, you get on a bus, you go home. Community bus station. Poster: spit and run. You'll still get caught. DNA. Every bus, tram and interchange has DNA testing kits. Spit at the staff and you can be traced and prosecuted, even if we don't know what you look like, and your records will be on the national DNA database forever. And so in every country we're now seeing, because it's a movement, we're seeing the difference between the military and the police becoming less and less obvious. People being asked to spy on their neighbors and their friends. Hey, this guy Icke is in Melbourne, and he's inciting people to discord. Got to get around here fast. We're on our way. This is how to tell a terrorist now at the airport. And so we got the movement towards microchips and identity cards and all that stuff. And this is a State Watch report in Europe, an organization just explaining how the cumulative nature of all these things I'm talking about are turning us into a police state very, very quickly. And the idea is to keep prodding us, telling us what to do, telling us what we can't do, making it difficult to do this, making it difficult to do that, and watching us and having punishments for whatever we bloody do. Keep quiet, shut up, you can't say that, oh no, go to a free speech zone, and all the rest of it. And cumulatively again, this is what it's about. And this is why we mustn't acquiesce to it. They have experiments in laboratories where they have rats or mice, and they have these mazes. And if you go down this part of the maze, there's an electronic shock equipment, and you go down there and the mouse gets shocked. After a few times, it's been shocked so often, you can take the equipment away so it can freely go without actually any shock. It will not go down there because its mind has been, through punishment, through hassle and pain, has been programmed not to go down there, only to go down this channel or that channel. And what's happening is that we are now all over the world being bombarded with so much instruction, so many orders, so many can't do's, so many punishments for the ridiculously small things, that they're basically prodding us so that we go into a state of acquiescence and subordination and just follow unquestioningly the diktats of authority. That's what it's about. It's about programming us through all these consequences that are now emerging by the day at ridiculous levels of detail in our lives. We mustn't acquiesce to that. This is what this is about. The taser, which is coming in all over the world. And 55,000 volts of electricity, which has killed a significant number of people around the world. And I saw a newspaper headline when these first came out in America, and it was written by this journalist who'd seen it happen, and the headline was, "Anything you say, officer, just don't use that thing on me." That's what they're here for. People say, oh, it's bad for the taser, people are dying. No, it's good for the taser, people are dying. Because when you've seen people dying from a taser, someone pulls a taser out with a uniform on, you're going to do whatever he says. That's the idea. It's the laboratory mouse, the laboratory rat. Political correctness is another thing. Not only are we physically being given consequences for everything, we now, I don't, but many people do, they are thinking what they say before they say it. They're not even having the freedom and the relaxation to say what they think in case they say something that's politically incorrect. You know, and people say, oh no, you can't say people are crippled, you have to say they're digitally challenged. Well, I've got rheumatoid arthritis in my hands, and I can hardly use them for anything but driving and pressing buttons on a computer. I don't mind if someone says I've got a crippled hand. I have no problem with that, because it bloody well is, okay? I mean, what's the problem? But it's all about, and again, you know, the text language is the same. If you think on the level of mind, we think with words. When you have a thought, you're thinking in words. The more over the generations you can remove and reduce the number of words that we use, you eventually do not even have the words to construct a thought with any detail. It's all blandness. And this is what Orwell talked about with his old speak and new speak, where the authorities in 1984 wanted to replace more and more of the old words that you could express yourself in detail with and replace them with newspeak, which were bland and had no real meaning. And if you get to that stage, and that's where they're heading, you know, this text speak, you are, and all this stuff, we're not even going to have the language, not far from now, as the generations move on, that can actually have the words to articulate a thought of any detail except a bland one. That's the idea. It's all a mind game. Well, I love this one. This is a politically correct sign. Caution, this sign has sharp edges. Do not touch the edges of this sign. And it says at the bottom, also, the bridge is out ahead. So, this is what we're looking at. Yeah, whose word in your head? Programming the computer. They want the microchip to program the computer. That's why they're pushing this around the world. microchip your children so you know where they are, put your medical records on a microchip. But the idea of the microchip, like I say, is to access the body computer and manipulate it from within. The media is fundamentally a part of the mind control also, that's whose world is in your head all the time as they manipulate our reality. And it's the same with like the media, as I say, and the way that they do this. Now, computer access. They're trying to access the computer in many, many different ways, and when you kind of realize how the computer works, you start to realize why they're doing what they're doing. All this crap in food is to destabilize the computer